Made in China, but qualify for U.S. tax breaks. The Treasury Department's guidelines on solar panels raising eyebrows in some sectors. The Treasury saying the panels only need to be assembled stateside to make the cut, even if the parts are made elsewhere. Investors rallying behind the news, but critics warn it will help boost China's dominance in the sector rather than U.S. manufacturing.
This program is brought to you by Preserve Gold, the #1 precious metals IRA provider. Call 855-962-3322.
Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. First up, American-made solar panels, but are they really crafted on U.S. soil? The Treasury Department is clarifying what counts as being made in America, saying on Friday companies can claim tax credits even if their panels are entirely made in China. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, companies can qualify for tax credits if 40% of the panel's components are made in the U.S. That's to boost domestic jobs in the face of China's dominance in the sector. The Treasury also offering an additional credit, up to 10% for solar panels assembled in the U.S., even if the cells and wafers are made in other countries, like China. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen calling these tax credits key to driving investment and ensuring all Americans share in the growth of the green energy economy. Investors responded, with the top U.S. solar manufacturer seeing shares surge 26% following the news. But not everyone sees it as a win. Executive Director of the Solar Energy Manufacturing for America Coalition, Mike Carr, calls it a missed opportunity to build a domestic solar manufacturing supply chain. Noting China's dominance in the sector, he added, "We fear that this guidance will cement their dominance over these critical pieces of the solar supply chain." This comes as the Biden administration has set the goal of generating 100% of the nation's electricity from carbon-free energy sources by 2035. A 78-year-old American citizen sentenced to life in prison by a Chinese court. The man is 78-year-old John Xingwen Leong, a Hong Kong permanent resident. Now, Hong Kong's chief executive is responding after the man was convicted on spying charges Monday. Chief Executive John Lee explained there is a reporting mechanism for arrests made in China that involve Hong Kong.
The main purpose of this reporting mechanism is to allow, first of all, the family members to know about the situation so that they can do what is necessary to help the person concerned. Equally, if there's any requests for assistance to the Hong Kong government, of course, we'll offer the assistance as much as we can, as requested.
Details on the case have not been publicly released. Hong Kong Secretary for Security Chris Tang also commented Monday, saying Chinese authorities had reported the man's arrest to the city through the notification mechanism in 2021. Court statements show Leong was apprehended on April 15th of that year. That's after an investigation launched by a city-level bureau of China's national security body. Trials for cases like these are often held behind closed doors, with little information released to the public. Accusations generally focus on infiltration, secrets gathering, and threatening state security. Beijing's ruling Communist Party exercises absolute control over legal matters, civil society, and freedom of information, so outside demands for information often get blocked. Speaking of spies, an intelligence report from Belgium says Chinese espionage is alive and well in the European nation. Let's zoom in.
A recent government report by the Belgian VSSE Security Service found that spies for the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, are extremely active in the country. Belgium is not only a U.S. ally, but also the de facto capital of the European Union. The report assesses security threats that Belgium faces, and it lists Chinese spies as one of them, alongside threats from terrorism and the war in Ukraine. The report says to represent its interests, China also continues to use a very broad spectrum of techniques to spread its influence, employed overtly or covertly in a gray zone between lobbying, interference, political influence, espionage, economic blackmail, and disinformation campaigns, between which the boundary is often vague. The Belgian agency notes that the CCP doesn't rely just on traditional spies to carry out its operations. Oftentimes it uses private citizens, Chinese businesses, state media, and lobbyists. The agency concluded, with the presence of a large number of major international institutions, Belgium is a very attractive target for Chinese espionage and influence peddling.
Another segment of Beijing's espionage efforts exposed, and one victim is speaking out. Federal authorities recently indicted 64-year-old Liang Litang for acting as an agent of the Chinese Communist Party. The Boston man allegedly spent 4 years spying on the Chinese community in the U.S. Here are the details.
Prosecutors said Liang began working for the communist regime in 2018 and continued through at least last year. According to court papers, he intended to, quote, covertly advance the PRC's goals and agenda within the United States. PRC is short for the People's Republic of China, the country's formal name. In one case, Liang allegedly organized counter-protests at an August 18, 2019 rally in Boston. The event had supported Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement. Here's what one rally-goer said she saw firsthand.
We had already received threatening messages before the rally. They also said they would come with guns and sticks to attack our protesters.
The day of the demonstration, Hui witnessed the now charged Liang handing out red flags to a group of Chinese people.
While I was speaking, many counter-protesters held Chinese flags and tried to cover my face and those of others on stage. They harassed us and even hurled insults.
Another suspected Chinese agent attacked volunteers and vandalized posters at the rally. He followed Hui all the way home to her school dorm after the event. Hui said she reported the case to the police 4 years ago.
I'm pretty sure that this person who followed me also had a connection to the Chinese consulate, but the U.S. authorities took too long to investigate and failed to arrest him. He soon realized the situation and returned to China without coming back.
According to the indictment, Liang also took photos and videos of pro-democracy protesters at the rally, later sending them to Chinese officials in Beijing. Hui said Liang later did it again at a different Hong Kong rally the following month. Liang's arrest came just weeks after the FBI busted 2 other men. They were accused of running a covert Chinese police station in New York.
I hope that not only government officials become aware of the problem, but that the general public realizes how widespread the CCP's transnational repression is.
Liang pleaded not guilty last Thursday. He was released on a $25,000 bail and surrendered his passport. His next court appearance is set for July 6th.
Nations are sounding the alarms over China's overseas operations. On Monday, German officials said 2 Chinese police outposts are still active in the country. That's despite Beijing's promise to shut them down back in February. The 2 stations were not fixed location offices, but mobile facilities, aiming to carry out official duties on behalf of the Chinese regime. Last year, Berlin called on Beijing to shut down its police outposts in the country. Despite being China's largest trade partner, Berlin is reconsidering its bilateral relations with Beijing. And Germany isn't the only country taking note of China's global ambitions. According to human rights watchdog Safeguard Defenders, China operates more than 100 police facilities in 53 countries, including the U.S., Canada, and Britain. Of those, the U.S. is one of those taking action. Earlier this year, the FBI raided a secret police unit in Manhattan, bringing criminal charges against individuals linked to the operation. The criminal complaint alleged defendants took orders from Chinese authorities to locate and intimidate Chinese dissidents living in the United States. U.S. Congressman Mike Gallagher warned that there's at least 2 more outposts on U.S. soil, one in New York City and another in Los Angeles. While a report from human rights organization Safeguard Defenders shows 6 of them are still running. Over 1 million Tesla vehicles are getting recalled in China starting later this month. The announcement came after an investigation into defects in the cars done by a Chinese regulator last week. Here are the details.
Chinese watchdogs are making Tesla do what they call a product recall. The US automaker has said it will deploy software updates to more than 1 million vehicles. It will include changes to braking methods and more warnings about the use of accelerator pedals. While Chinese regulations defined the actions as a product recall, it was unclear if drivers might need or would be eligible to return vehicles to Tesla for refunds. The regulator's statement said that from May the 29th, Tesla will issue over-the-air software updates to 1.1 million units of its Model S, Model X, Model 3 and Model Y cars. This includes both imported and China-made models. It said the concerned vehicles did not allow drivers to turn off regenerative braking, which works to recoup energy from the process of slowing a car. The cars also did not provide enough warnings when drivers stepped on the accelerator pedal hard. Those factors combined could increase the risk of collision. The update will restore the option of switching off regenerative braking and warn drivers when they step hard on the accelerator pedal. Chinese police are currently investigating a fatal crash involving a Model Y, with the car's brake function a key focus of the probe.
Chinese police have been investigating a crash involving a Model Y car. Last November, a driver lost control of the vehicle. The accident killed a motorcyclist and a high school student and injured 3 others. At the time, Tesla said videos showed the car's brake lights were not on while it was speeding, and data showed the driver had failed to step on the brakes. Last December, Tesla recalled more than 400,000 cars in China. About 1/3 of the company's cars were sold in the Chinese market in 2022. Relations are thawing between Russia and China. After over 160 years, Moscow is opening up a major port to Beijing, granting permission for it to ship Chinese goods starting this June. Analysts told news outlet Lianhe Zaobao that it gives China the upper hand in its relations with Russia and reflects Russia becoming increasingly isolated by the West because of the Ukraine war. The announcement came on Monday. The port in question is called Vladivostok. It's Russia's largest port in the Pacific Ocean. It's also home to Russia's Pacific Fleet. Vladivostok used to be part of China in the 1800s, but Russia annexed it in 1860. Since then, northeastern China lost its ocean access and had to route its goods first on railroads, then through the port of Dalian, an over 600-mile journey. Access to Vladivostok cuts that distance by 80%. Russia is lashing out at French President Emmanuel Macron. On Sunday, Macron said Moscow has, quote, entered a form of subservience with regards to China, adding that the Kremlin already went through a geopolitical defeat. A Kremlin spokesman pushed back on the comment, saying Russia's relations with China have the character of a special strategic partnership. Western leaders have been urging Chinese leader Xi Jinping to help end Russia's war in Ukraine. Xi spoke to the Ukrainian president in April. Beijing is also sending a special envoy to Kyiv for a visit on Tuesday. He will be the highest-ranking Chinese official to visit Ukraine since Russia started its invasion. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for 2 years. Here's what to look out for in our second half. Vietnam and China in a standoff over the South China Sea. This time, it's all about oil drilling operations. Is a war in sight?
It's not just, say who could win a fight in the South China Sea, but this is a much broader sort of struggle, and you have ways you can apply economic pressure, financial pressure, and even propaganda, psychological pressure in this fight. And you are best advised to really spread the battlefield and use every tool you have at your resources, and make it so that it's not worth it for China to do what it is doing in the South China Sea.
We spoke to Grant Newsham, retired Marine Colonel, about the situation there and steps to take going forward. The full episode is available on our partner platform, Epoch TV. To sign up, click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. See you tomorrow.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.